All right, welcome to the Explainer. So let's talk Kubernetes. You ever have one of those applications that absolutely has to run on specific hardware? Maybe it's a machine learning job that needs a GPU, or a sensitive app that you have to lock down to a specific security zone. Well, today we're going to master required node affinity, the tool that gives you that exact, mandatory control over where your pods land.
Yeah, so let's dig into that challenge. You've got a pod. It's important, and it has special needs. It might need a super fast SSD, or for compliance reasons, it absolutely must run in, say, a data center in Europe. You can't just cross your fingers and hope the scheduler gets it right. You need to lay down the law and enforce a strict, unbreakable rule. So how do you do it?
Now, you might have heard about some older ways to do this, but the modern, flexible, and this is the important part, the officially recommended way is a feature called node affinity. This is really the key to unlocking some seriously sophisticated and fine-grained control over your pod placement.
And to really get why node affinity is such a big deal, we got to look back at what came before it, the node selector. By putting the old way and the new way side by side, you'll see just how much more expressive and flexible this new approach really is.
Okay, so look at this. This chart tells the whole story. On the left, you've got the old node selector. It's fine. It's just simple key value matching, but it's super rigid. Now look to the right at required node affinity. Suddenly you've got a whole language at your fingertips. You can use logical operators like in or not in, you can specify a whole list of values, and, this is a game changer, you can create OR conditions. This isn't just a small improvement, it's a whole new level of control. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This comes straight from the top, from the official Kubernetes documentation itself. The project maintainers are telling us loud and clear, node affinity is the way forward. It is absolutely the future-proof choice.
Okay, so we've hyped it up enough. We know it's powerful, but what does this thing actually look like in the wild? Let's pop the hood and break down the YAML, piece by piece, to see how these rules are actually put together.
All right, first thing you'll see is this ridiculously long but actually super descriptive name, required during scheduling, ignored during execution. Let's just break that down. Required during scheduling, that means this is a hard rule. It's non-negotiable. If no node matches this rule, your pod is not getting scheduled, period. Then there's ignored during execution. That just means that once the pod is up and running on a node, Kubernetes isn't going to kick it off if the node's labels change later.
Okay, so nested inside that, we get node selector terms. The key here is that it's a list, and it acts as your OR gate. If you have a few different terms in this list, the pod only needs to match one of them to be scheduled. This is how you'd say something like, put this pod on a node in zone A, or put it in zone B. And then, drilling down one more level, inside each of those terms, you've got match expressions. And, you guessed it, this is your AND gate. For a node to match a specific term, it has to satisfy all of the expressions you list in here. So just remember that logic. Node selector terms is for your ORs, and match expressions is for your ANDs.
And this is where the magic really happens. This structure isn't just about equals. You get this whole toolbox of operators. You can check if a label's value is in a list of possibilities or not in a list. You can check if a label simply exists at all, or even do greater than or less than comparisons. This is what makes node affinity a true rule engine.
All right, enough theory. Theory is great, but the best way to really let this sink in is to see it in action. So let's walk through a quick hands-on example of what this looks like in a real cluster.
And the workflow here, it's actually super simple. First, you'll label a node so it has the characteristic you're looking for. Here, we're just saying size equals small. Second, you apply your pod's YAML file, the one with the affinity rule inside. Third, you check your work. Just run a kubectl git pods to make sure it landed where you expected. And finally, you can always use kubectl describe to see the scheduler's own event log. It's that easy. Label, deploy, and verify.
Okay, but this brings up a really important question. We keep saying this is a required rule, a hard and fast constraint. So what happens if the scheduler scans your entire cluster and comes up empty? What if not a single node satisfies your rule?
The answer is, well, it's simple, and it's absolute. The pod will not get scheduled. It'll just sit there in a pending state, basically forever, or at least until a node that matches your rule joins the cluster. And if you go describe that pod, you'll see a crystal clear event from the scheduler telling you exactly why. 0/1 nodes match node affinity. It's basically just sitting there, waiting for you to give it a home.
Okay, fundamentals are down. Now let's level up a bit and look at some more advanced real-world rules and tackle some common questions I hear all the time.
All right, check this out. This is a super common real-world scenario you'll see all the time in production. In any cloud environment, you're constantly balancing two things: resilience, which means spreading across availability zones, and performance, which means picking the right machine size. This rule handles both at the same time.
So I know that YAML might look a little intimidating at first, but when you boil it all down, it translates into this really clear, really powerful business rule. Right here, it's just saying, run this pod in zone US-East-1A or 1B, and only on instance types m5.large or m5.xlarge. You can see how the ors and ands we talked about come together to solve a very practical problem.
Let's go back to that super long name for a second, because that second part, ignored during execution, is just as important as the first. What does that actually mean for your running applications? It's what we call a schedule once guarantee. So the pod lands on a node because it matches the rule. Great. But now, what if an admin comes along later and changes that node's label? Well, even though the node isn't a match anymore, Kubernetes will not kick your pod off. The rule is only checked that one time, right at the moment of scheduling.
Okay, another question I get a lot is about combining rules. What if you need a node that has to have, say, an SSD disk, and it also has to be a large instance size? How do you make sure both of those things are true?
And the answer is simple, just like before. They are ANDed together. If you put multiple match expressions inside a single term, they all have to be true. The node must have the disk equals SSD label, and it must have the size equals small label. It's got to satisfy every single one of them, no exceptions. All right, let's bring it all home and recap the most important things to remember. First, required means required. It's a hard rule, no wiggle room. Second, remember your logic. Node selector terms is how you do OR, and match expressions is how you do AND. Third, always verify your rules with kubectl describe pod to see what the scheduler is thinking. And finally, don't forget it's a schedule once deal. Your running pods will stay put even if a node's labels change later.
So now you have this incredibly powerful tool in your toolbox. You can use it to slash your cloud bill by targeting spot instances, or guarantee performance by locking workloads to specific hardware, or even enforce compliance rules by making sure pods only run in certain countries. I mean, the possibilities here are huge. So the only question left is, what's the smartest affinity rule that you are going to build?